Right back again with miniatures from the young Magnus Carlsen from the white side. We're picking up in December of 2003. Magnus, I think, is probably just 13 years old, and his rating at this time is 2450. And he's playing a player named Drabkey, who is 2449. So these players are evenly matched here. Let's go. This is a barn burner right here. D4 from Carlsen, D5, C4, C6. This, my friends, is known as the Slav defense. This is what you see often. This would be the Queen's Gambit declined. And just real quick, the Slav defense, the idea behind the Slav is to keep the path open for this bishop to be free. If you noticed in the other variation, the Queen's Gambit decline, this bishop is blocked in for a while and can't get out, and is often becomes problematic in the opening. The positive side of this move, however, playing e6 early, is that black can develop his king side quickly and get castled. With this move, black frees his bishop, but neglects his development on the king side. And furthermore, another thing, not to get too deep into the theory and ideas of the Slav, because that's not what we're doing, but just, so you have some kind of feeling, flavor of what's going on. Also, c6 is an interesting move because in many of these lines in the queen's pawn openings, c5 is the goal for black to achieve his breakthrough. E5 is also a major goal, and black would love to get it, but it's usually more difficult to get in E5 due to the pieces being focused on this square. E5 is harder for black to push this pawn here, because usually it's easier for white to be able to defend that square. So he usually goes for the C5 break. So what's interesting about the Slav is black actually takes time to play c6 first, and then many times later on he'll play c5. So these openings are very interesting to study once you get into the ideas behind them. But just suffice it to say now is that black's primary goal is to just free his bishop. The downside of that is that he does give up the center. So there's always a price to pay for black, some kind of concession to making these openings. Alright, so knight f3 was played, knight f6, knight c3, d takes c4. And this is an important move of the Slav right here, because it actually allows this bishop to be able to come out to f5, sometimes g4, without having to worry about the counterattack of the queen coming to this square and attacking this pawn. This capture d takes c4 makes that possible, as the c pawn temporarily guards and looks over the square b3. And we see another benefit of this move c5 is that actually black is legitimately threatening to hold on to his newly gained pawn by playing b5. And so this is why in the main line Slav, white plays a4. Other moves have been tried. e4, you might see this every now and then. Some of you might play this move, and then we get b5, and then it's the game becomes very sharp and tactical as white tries to build up initiative with this center, and black holds on to his pawn and tries to survive basically the onslaught. Practice has shown though that black usually comes out better in these positions, and that's why this is more of like a surprise weapon at top levels. But it is very fun to play and exciting for both sides. But the main line is a4, preventing this move. And now the bishop comes out. Knight h4, harassing the bishop. That's just one line. Sometimes this knight can go straight to e5. And the idea is that since white has given up, black has given up the center, white will play f3 and e4 many times after trading off this bishop. Okay, so black retreats to d7. Now he doesn't have to go there. He can go g6. He can go back to g6. He can even ignore the threat and play the pawn to e6 and keep developing. And he also can go to bishop g4, which you'll see a lot. The idea is to show this knight is being misplaced. So this player played bishop d7, and I'm not sure I really like this move too much because this knight will not be able to get here. Now, if you were planning to bring this knight to b4, maybe you could justify that move. So e3 is played. Magnus is just planning on recapturing the pawn, and then they'll worry about moving the center later. So b5 is played, and now we see the idea behind bishop d7 is that black is trying to hold on to the pawn. Magnus just plays knight f3 as the knight is no longer useful there. Queen b6, and queen b6 is an interesting move, and it's normal in a lot of these variations. It's almost like black is trying to transpose into the other line I was showing you earlier, and here it just it doesn't work. And one of the reasons too is because white has not played e4, so its center is very solid. Magnus plays knight e5, bishop c8 is played, and now I want you to notice the development. Black just has the queen out and the knight on f6, and white is not doing too good himself either. He has just a knight on e5 and a knight on c3 developed. A takes b5, c takes b5, and Magnus finds an awesome continuation here to exploit his lead in development. He plays knight takes b5, queen takes b5, bishop takes c4, and he just cleared out all those pawns for the price of a piece. Now he's attacking the queen here and threatening check on f7. Queen has to move, bishop takes f7 check, king d8, bishop d2, now e6, bishop a5 check, king e7, queen a4, and notice this knight is supporting this bishop here so the king cannot escape. Knight d5, trying to provide a little escape square for the queen. Queen e8 check. King f6. Now Magnus plays knight g4. Some of you might have seen the move bishop d8 check, and you are correct. That move is excellent also. But Magnus sees a different way to win and plays knight g4, king g5, h4 check, king takes g4, bishop takes e6 check, and black resigned. And the reason why black resigned, because it's mate coming up. For instance, if you want to pause the video, you can try to figure it out. But say bishop takes e6, which would be obvious. Queen takes e6 check. There's only one move. King h5. And then just g4 would be checkmate. So that was a devastating win by Magnus Carlsen for our first game. We're going to look at one more. This next game took place in January of 2004, and now Magnus' rating was 2484, so he's almost 2500, and he's 13 years old at the time, and he's facing a grandmaster, Valery Popov, who was 2580 with the black pieces. So fasten your seatbelts. So Carlsen played e4 this time. c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and we have a knight off Sicilian. Bishop g5, main line, e6, f4. So we see Magnus just going for the jugular. This, my friends, is known as the poison pawn variation, because white is playing to induce black to capture this pawn in exchange for attacking chances. So there's a lot of theory on this line, and let us suffice to say that the line is basically unclear, but there's a lot of quick defeats for black in this, because it's a very razor sharp position, and a lot of the losses for black are not because of position or the position is bad. It's just difficult for humans to play some of these razor sharp positions. So, but if you like these kind of positions, then it's definitely worth studying. So queen b6, queen d2, and there's the invitation right there to take the pawn. White is going to castle queenside the next move. So queen takes b2, rook b1. So white gives up a pawn in exchange for time, and with that time he mobilizes his pieces. So if you look at the development, you can see that that black only has two pieces developed, the queen and the knight on f6, and white has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in action already, and rook comes to the open file with tempo. Queen a3, f5. Now sometimes you'll see the move e5 played also. Many different types of moves have been tried. So f5 idea is to undermine this square right here, d5. So for instance, just visualize that, and now you can see the square being weakened, or if this pawn is out of the picture. And if black doesn't capture, then white will capture on e6 and create a pawn structure that looks like that. Again, notice the open diagonals that would occur as a result of such capture. So this is what white is playing for, is activity in exchange for his pawn, and he must play it vigorously because he is down a pawn, and the pawn is enough to win the game. So He's giving up a pawn, and so he has to compensate with the activity. Knight c6, and black did not capture there, so white captured, and there's the pawn structure that I was telling you about. So now there's some more open lines. Okay, knight takes c6, b takes c6, and e5. Again, dynamic play in order to achieve open lines. And right now black is playing well so far. He's trying to keep things close as possible and judiciously trade off pieces. Magnus plays knight d5, and hey, maybe rook b3 probably was better. But knight takes d5, c takes d5, bishop d3, d takes e5, castle. So white is down material here. You can count the pawns. White has 4 pawns, and black has 6. So he's up 2 whole pawns. But here's his compensation. And if you're a player that likes this type of compensation, then you play this from the white side, or you study this from the white side rather. And if you're a player that likes material and doesn't see any reason not to snatch a pawn and hold on to it, then study this from the black side and try to figure out how you can hold the position. So after castle, bishop e7. Again, black wants to trade some pieces. Carlsen gets off the dark squares. e4. Of course, hitting the bishop. Bishop e2. And now the bishop moves to the diagonal I was talking about. That is open. Rook f8. I'm looking for more exchanges. c4. Magnus is trying to open the position. D takes c4. Now, I think this is an error because, again, he helped white achieve his goal. So that's just my instinct telling me that, but I'm pretty sure that that's definitely a mistake to open the position like that. I think black got a little too comfortable because after d takes c4, Magnus played rook takes f8 check, and king takes f8. It's forced because after bishop takes f8, notice the action here. So what happens is this diagonal gets utilized, the check right here. g6 is forced because mate. Now queen d8, king f7, queen c7, king g8, and rook f1, and then black has to start giving up material to stop the mate here. So he has to play, just give up the bishop, play bishop d7, etc., and there's no stopping the the beat down that's coming. Okay, so now king takes f8 was played. Magnus played queen f4 check, king e8. Now why not tuck the king in the corner right? That's the natural move, and that's the move that we want to play. After king g8 and queen takes e4, and let's say um, rook to a7, because rook a8, excuse me, rook b8 is out the picture because rook just captures. So let's say rook a7. Well, rook b8 is played. So king e8. Now if queen takes e4, would it be played? Bishop takes g5, and queen takes a8, and queen c5. And it's a brutal position, but black has some chances of surviving here. I doubt it, but he has better chances, so that's why he didn't tuck the queen into the corner. But after king e8, Magnus played rook f1, and now all the pieces are threatening to invade. All these open lines and files, and the lack of protection for the king and development proves too much for even the grandmaster to handle. So rook a7, queen f7 check, flushing the king out into the open. Rook d1 check, king c6, bishop to c4, excuse me, queen. Okay, sorry about that, I was interrupted. Alright, so queen e8 check, king b6, and Magnus just takes the bishop. um, Rook b1 was good, if you spotted that. Queen takes c8, gets the job done. And Grandmaster Popov resigned. And this is a great win by Magnus. I think, now I'm not going to say it was his first win over a GM, but definitely his first miniature over a GM that I've spotted. So that was January 2004. All right, actually I'm going to do one last one, and that'll be it. All right, here we go. Here's our last miniature uh, for today, and this player with the black pieces, his last name was Edmonds, and he was rated about 22-25. So he's playing a international master, Magnus Carlsen, right now. And this game was in 2004, I believe. And this is an interesting game because you could see kind of the development of Magnus's style as far as him playing innocuous opening systems, not to not being a theoretician, so to speak, just playing a opening just to basically get a playable position. I think you can see that clearly in this game. How he's not on the cutting edge of theory. He's just playing to just get his opponent into a position. And you see that here, and it has devastating effects. But you can see early traces of that style in this game. So e4, Carlsen is white, of course. e4, c5, another Sicilian. Knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. So perhaps Carlsen wasn't prepared to go into certain lines. For instance, maybe accelerated dragon, or perhaps Sveshnikov. Maybe Carlsen was not ready, so he decided to just steer the game into just playable waters. So after knight c3, knight d4 was played, bishop c4, and this is just normal development. If you looked at White's development, it looks like a beginner's game. When they tell you just put your knight on c3 and f3, bishop on c4, and the other bishop on f4, and two pawns in the center, and castle, and then bring your rooks to e1 and d1. It looks like a beginner game. So e6, blunting this bishop, castle, d6, knight takes d4, doubles up the black pawns, knight e2, knight f6. Now black decides to just counterattack instead of trying to protect this pawn. e5 is possible, but a good continuation for white here would be to play in the style of the Smith-Morra and just play c3, and accelerating his lead in development, because he's not going to want to have this kind of pawn structure after c takes d4. So therefore he would practically be forced to accelerate white's development by capturing, and then say after knight c3, this is going to happen. This square will be weak, and white has nice opportunities to attack the king with the lead in development and open lanes. So I think it was wise for black just to leave this pawn be and just play knight f6, attacking this pawn, and basically keeping the position as dull and closed as possible, especially while he lags behind in development. Okay, so d3. Now this pawn is threatened again. Queen b6. So the black player is protecting the pawn, but also moving his pieces into the game, which is good. And the queen oftentimes goes to this square in the Sicilian. I'm not sure if it's right here, but it's a normal Sicilian move, if we can say. And there's the idea I spoke about. c3, d takes c3, knight takes c3, and this helps white out tremendously because we got open lanes. This bishop's gonna come out soon, and white also have a full center, and he has a lead in development. Bishop d7, this bishop e3. Notice Magnus is not concerned with material, and the idea is basically if queen, let's see what he played first. Okay, he did not take the pawn. So if queen takes b2, the idea is to play bishop d4 with the discovery, and of course say queen a3 for instance, then knight b5 here, attacking the queen. And then of course if bishop takes knight, then bishop takes, and then white's going to lose castling rights. So I think the pawn gambit there is definitely worth it. It's not a clear win for white, but white definitely is in the driver's seat. So black rightfully steps aside and doesn't go after it. D4, and now Magnus has a nice advantage. He just has space, two bishops, open lines with prospects and leading development. Not winning, but he just has a nice position. D5, E takes D5, E takes D5, Bishop B3. Now the thing is black has struck back in the center, but he's just opened up more lanes for white. So he has to be very careful because he is behind in development. H6, and again I just said the word development, and then H6 gets played. So you know that a beatdown is coming because you cannot neglect your development. Not for too long. In a closed position, yes, but this position is no longer semi-closed. I mean, the Sicilian is known as the semi-closed position, which means that it has a lot of the features of closed positions where you can lag behind in development and get away with it. But this position has become more and more open. So black didn't realize that transition and is still playing, like these slow kind of moves like H6 that you can normally get away with in a closed position. So rook E1 just immediately getting into attack position. So black jumps out of the frying pan right into the fire, because when he castles, he's castling right on the open file. And then look at this beautiful diagonal. I mean, you had to ask yourself, where does that piece go? I mean, boom, right here. And Magnus jumps right on it. Now, it's a teachable moment. Rook C1, a lot of people would have just played that, which is acceptable. But when you know where to go, and you're absolutely clear that piece should go there, you put it there, and you make sure that he doesn't get his piece there first. You get yours there first. Bishop F4. Okay, back again. Sorry for the interruption there. Alright, so after Bishop F4, we see that Magnus cuts off the king from escaping further over to the queen side. So Bishop C6, idea is to block the C file because white is expecting this rook to come over. Negative about that is the bishop is no more than a glorified pawn at this point. Queen F3, and now with this diagonal cut off, white is looking to exploit the light square diagonal. So Bishop D6, wanting to trade. And Magnus plays Bishop takes D6, Rook takes D6, and Queen G3. His tactics are king. Just attacking two things at one time, which is one of the basic principles of chess, the double attack. So Queen C7, protecting the most valuable of the two things that are attacked. Rook A C1. Again, another great move and instructive one. Notice that Magnus didn't go after the pawn. There's no reason to go after the pawn in this position and allow rook to g8 and create any kind of counterplay. Magnus just simply continues to improve his position. And now there's all kind of threats, namely knight to b5, forking the queen and the rook. So rook e6, and black is just desperately looking for trades. Now queen takes g7 is played. Rook g8, queen takes h6, knight g5, and black is trying to whip up some kind of counterattack, but he's just not in the proper position, doesn't have the resources to be successful. And just simply queen h7, attacking the unprotected rook. Rook ge8, rook takes e6, rook takes e6, and boom, unprotected piece gets assassinated, and black resigned there. Good game by Carlsen. Alright, next time we're gonna do Sergei Karyakin games, miniatures. So I'll see you on the next video.